They have the hard-hitting analysis.
I'm anti-injury, so maybe this won't work out.
Kyler's only playing one tight end this week, so that's probably going to help him out a lot.
They tell it like it is.
That's not what I needed, Grandma Nut.
All right, the hipster fantasy player.
I don't do anything.
Their listeners love them.
Found all your charts boring, to be frank. Caitlin was the star of the show.
They break down all the statistics.
20 points. That doesn't quite add up. Maybe had 93.
This is the Snick Snack Sports Podcast.
Here we... All right, Snickers, help me out.
What's going on, all you football fans out there getting ready for the third week of the fantasy football season? I'm out here wearing my Hall of Fame ready shirt out here. Nate, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Nick. I'm wearing my Hall of Fame ready shirt as well, number 37.
Yeah.
Never forget. Another great week of fantasy football. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Enjoying the show. Getting ready for this week here after a great Thursday night football game.
Yeah. For Patriots fans out there, if you have a recording, just delete it. Not worth watching. But I think the rest of the games may be exciting. Our fantasy football season is shaping up to be an interesting one. I think no obvious, kind of best teams in my opinion. Even though everyone thinks that Ducky is primed, I think that he's vulnerable. So we'll dig into all of it. And actually, let's start by jumping into the standings. I should say we have Nick Adams on the show tonight, and he has something to share with us all, which I think everyone will enjoy. But let's pull up the standings to this point in the season. We have 3 undefeated teams left. We have Kyle and Ducky and Kenny are all undefeated. We also have 3 entirely defeated teams. That's you, Katie, and Kyler. Snickers, what do you have to say for yourself so far?
Say it was a rough start, but we got a lot of stuff coming. We got a lot of stuff getting ready for next week. We got John, and he already is at basically a deficit, having a less than 1 point score on Thursday Night Football. So ready to go.
Yeah, good points. And now I will say that there are some haters out there calling your team the worst team ever. What do you have to say to people who think things like that?
I would say that person calling me out is not Matt, because he would have several self-proclaimed worst teams ever. Kyler's teams a couple times. Obviously Nolan, but he didn't really set his lineup. John's don't really count. But yeah, how many times has Ducky missed the playoffs? And I know he's maybe the person calling me out. I'm just gonna take a guess there. But no, I'm happy. I'm ready to go. My team's doing well this week, and it's gonna keep doing well after that.
Nice. I just looking at just the points for here, you're not even in last place in points for. That's Kyler.
Yeah.
And you are one of the league leaders in points against to this point.
Yeah, no, defense needs to siphon it up a little bit, but holding Katie gonna have bad defense, then come back in the second half of the season, be ready to go.
And the law of averages says that things will come back down. I mean, there's always a points against leader every year, but this still doesn't have to be you. And we also can see here that we've had some soft schedules, including John, who has the softest schedule of all.
Yeah, funny you talk about John's matchup last week. Him and Matt, neither of them wanted to win that game, and they were both projected for really good scores, and then the scores kept changing all throughout Sunday, and it turns out they both scored like 80 points. So neither of them wanted to win. Matt ended up, I think, winning by accident. So
yeah, no, this year, if we look at our power rankings, this is the rebranding ESPN did from their league leaders last year, or projected finish, I mean. But our power rankings are very interesting. You can see that Ducky's team started in second, finished in second, but everyone else has done a big swap.
Including Kyle going from last to first here.
Right, in 2 weeks went from last to first. And meanwhile, Matt went from first to eighth. It has you going from 4th to 12th. So it does think that your team as a suspect this year, but as we can see, that stuff changes on a week by week basis.
Yeah, I mean, I've never honestly looked at this, never put any faith into this thing. I've won championships without this being a tool on ESPN. I've won championships with it being the tool on ESPN, so I'm not worried about this little thing at all here.
No, it has not proven itself to mean very much so far. I think that Shane, the year that he won 2 years ago or came in second place, he was projected to come in last. Uh, so
Yeah,
it
wow. That's so surprising. You almost tried to say that Shane won in fantasy football, which he's never done before.
That's right. But let's look back at some of our matchups from last week, and then we'll dig into the news. But you know, so there was a matchup between me and Shane. A lot of people had Shane heavily projected to beat me here, and I did pull it out. Had a strong week. With thanks to Devin Singletary, Calvin Ridley, Nico Collins, Drake London, all pulling good games together for me. And so a good team effort despite my best running back and my best wide receiver being out with injuries.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about running backs a little bit between our teams before the pod started, and looking at your team, I'm not very scared of Devin Singletary and Tony Pollard. I know I'm not one to talk. My running backs are one's on IR and the other ones are all backups right now, but that's all right, especially with Shane getting 26 points off Devin Achane on Thursday Night Football last week. No, good win for you, and bad loss for Shane.
Yeah, and my team is never about the strength at running back, but given that I pretty much punted running back, I'm pretty pleased to have Tony and Devin, and then also Kenneth Walker and Zach Moss, who's going to be playing this week, as options every week. So I think it was so far my going light on the RB is I feel like working out for me. We had the Katie versus Carson matchup. Carson pulled one out. Good for him. I see he's making some roster moves this year already. But George Kittle, he's injured, but that's looking like a better pick already. The question marks around Kyron Williams, I know, and Travis Etienne a little bit, but overall not a bad looking team from Carson, I think.
Yeah, and not a bad looking team from Katie either, except for that she played Jake Ferguson, who was injured before the game started. So that's unfortunate. But also unfortunate that Tyreek didn't get any points on Thursday. Fortunate that, she doesn't have her team actually looks a lot like one of my teams from my other league, which is doing better. It's 3-1 in a 1.5 point league there, but.
Yeah, and I saw Katie before the game, and she was a little distracted. She did attempt to set her lineup, but she overlooked the Jake Ferguson. I will say Devontae Adams has turned out to be a much better pick than everyone thought this year, so that could carry her team if needed. And then Ducky had a very commanding win here, but I think that was mostly because Kyler's team was struggling last week. Patrick Mahomes may not have been worth the early round pick.
Yeah, and Ducky's feeling good about his great team when he's going up and beating up all this bad competition. Come back and you beat a good team here, Ducky.
Yeah, and let's see what happens when Alvin Kamara isn't scoring 6 touchdowns a week.
Right.
And then we got Kenny versus Nick Adams. This was a good matchup. Kenny came out on top. He's obviously undefeated so far. Jalen Hurts does appear to be worth the pick so far. Chris Godwin's having a big rebound year.
But yeah, 10-point win. It was actually very, very, very close all throughout Sunday. And, Kenny was able to pull it out, but there's a lot of smack talk going back and forth. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, yeah, it's a fun matchup. I'm happy for Kenny. I'm always happy for him in the beginning of the season when he thinks he's going to be doing really well. And then he gets really depressed by week 5 or 6 and comes crying onto the show here. But
yeah, I mean he's got some holes in his roster. The Demarcus Robinson having to start at wide receiver this early in the season is unlucky for him, of course, because he's had some bad luck with the injuries. But the injury game is one that obviously is random.
Getting everybody, yeah.
And then we have our kind of poop fest here, Matt versus John. Matt came out on top, deserves to be 0-2, but Jamar Chase is killing him right now.
Yeah. I don't know when the Bengals are going to pick it up. They got the Commanders this week, Monday night. There's a chance they'll be able to do a little better. They'll be at home, but we'll see.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, John made the decision to play Caleb Williams. That's not working out.
If he played Kirk Cousins, he would have won last week. So I don't know why he thinks that, rookie quarterback, even though he's number one pick, is going to be better than, good old fifth round, fourth round pick Kirk Cousins there.
Yeah, and his legal record isn't even that compelling. So not the kind of player that John usually kind of prefers in that way.
Mm.
And then there was the smashing that you had to go through, which was you had maybe a little bit below average performance, but Kyle had an excellent week. Kyler did great. James Cook did great. I mean, this matchup was going on during the show last week, and I mean, seeing James Cook at 3 touchdowns in like the first third of the game, it was
Yeah. No, I mean, that was definitely rough. I mean, there was no winning that week without, my full lineup here, but I'm pretty happy with my team still, and think we're going to be able to bounce back. I know all of the tight ends were basically not showing up the first couple weeks. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be able to be a top 5 guy moving forward. Obviously, my receiving core is great, and I just need to get Christian back. My team's going to be very, very good.
You thinking your receiving core will be great even with no Tua?
No Tua. I mean, I got Jalen Waddle, and I think all like 3 leagues, and I think he's still going to be good. He's obviously that talented. He gets a lot of receptions. He's going to be, still breaking some records here. Hopefully they are able to trade and sign someone else other than Skylar Thompson, but happy with my team right now. And if I don't have him, I got some, still got Zay Flowers and other people I can put in for him.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. is a little scary too, but he has the potential to be quite good.
Right, good week 1. He's another, reception guy. So.
But on a guy who doesn't throw very many balls. So, now tell us about the news around the league. It was a tough week for many NFL teams and fantasy players because of these injuries.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've already touched on a couple of these, but yeah, Christian McCaffrey on the IR. Hopefully he's back in 4 weeks. It's looking like it might be more than that. We got Isaiah Pacheco to IR, got Tua to IR with a concussion. Got Raheem Mostert out for a while. We got George Kittle, Justin Herbert probably not starting. We got Joe Mixon probably not starting this week. AJ Brown might be out a few games here. Jordan Love, good news, might be back after tearing his PCL or whatever he did there. And we got Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick last year in real NFL, got benched because he sucks. And kind of everyone saw that coming before the draft last year. And people just said he had so many intangibles. Unfortunately, intangibles don't add 6 inches to your height. And Red Rifle, Andy Dalton's going to be starting the next few games for the Carolina Panthers. And are you excited for that with your Xavier Legit guy?
Yeah, I would love because we'll talk about the trades later, but I got Leggett in a trade. He's a kind of special guy himself, as in he had like 1 season of college production and like didn't even start before that, but has a lot of like raw potential, kind of like Anthony Richardson. And I'd love someone who can actually get him the ball. Although I do feel I have some sympathy for Bryce Young just because his team is so terrible that he's like, traumatized at this point. Even when he gets protection, he's not ready for it.
He's got the Mac Jones, Dan Jones, Bryce Young little treatment there. He doesn't have any confidence anymore, which, yeah, I agree. It sucks. Hopefully he can get that back.
But yeah, that was last week. And in a few moments, we're going to be having our guest, Nick Adams, to join us for talking about next week and beyond. So we can say welcome to Nick. All right, welcome, Nick, to the show. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Could have had a better last week, but looking forward to, getting back on my feet early in the season. So hopefully a lot of stuff going for me. But feeling all right for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
team's not looking too bad, but I know that there was a question of whether you or Kenny would be joining us today. What was going on there?
We had a little friendly wager. You know, Kenny used to be Gamblers Anonymous, so I figured it was right up his alley. I was feeling a little confident after a week 1 win, so we said whoever won. I think I even gave him a couple of points. Didn't matter, I lost, but whoever lost has to shotgun a natty light. So
That's right.
that's
Looking forward to that. Yeah.
that's I did bring it. I got it ready to go. Don't think I've shotgun a beer in 5 years, but when you
Well,
take that L, you just gotta get to it.
well,
Yeah.
I figure we might as well just start off with that.
That, yeah.
Are you ready to go, Nick?
I guess I got my if you're gonna do it right. I got my keys, so
Yeah.
no tricky stuff here.
Let's get on.
Do it
All
sitting
right.
down. So let's
All
do
Very
right,
this.
nice. We got
here's
some
to Evan
music for
Ingram.
you. Yeah,
All
here's
right.
to Evan Ingram, and I'll count you down. You ready? Three.
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, we got 3, 2, 1.
What a vertical tactic. Got it. Mike Jordan got it.
All right.
That was
Oh,
pretty good, I have
Wow.
could use a slightly bigger hole, but
to say. I can't read all, yeah.
Yeah, we
the
saw
keyboard also doesn't look too thrilled about that.
we saw a little bit of spray. Pretty bold to be doing it in front of your technology, but I guess when you need the video, how else are you
I
gonna do it?
I did clean off the desk. I should have probably covered the keyboard for that, but is what it is. Can't go back now.
Yeah, no hurling there, so that's a win, I guess.
Yeah, I yeah, we'll see.
Looks
We'll
like
see
you're
if I
feeling
can.
good.
Now, are you and Kenny are gonna play each other again later this year? I think I like week 12 or 13. Are you gonna be coming back at him with something like this?
Oh, 100%.
Double down
100%.
next time?
Is a fluke lost by me anyway. I got a little confident and I didn't check my roster right before some games started. Apparently my tight end went down in warm-ups with a tight hamstring. So
Yeah, no,
good
Schmevin
old
really screwed you there.
good old Evan Ingram scored me 0 points, and I got rookie Brock Bowers on my bench. He scored 15. If I'd have got that swap in, you'd be seeing Kenny right now, not me.
Even
Yeah.
with the handicap you gave him?
Even with the handicap, I'd have got him if I was a little more proactive on the roster there, but I didn't see the alert because it happened in warm-ups.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, brutal.
No, one thing you do
yeah.
have to look forward to though is you got Marvin Harrison Jr. scored what 2 touchdowns in the first like 2 plays of the game.
30 points in the first half. I don't think he touched the ball in the second half, but he already
No,
had
the
30. So
the Rams figured that, oh wait, we have to guard him too. He's on the field. Yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, he was Marvin Harrison was basically invisible week 1. I'm hoping to see more week 2s going forward.
Yeah, they're facing the Detroit Lions this week, so it should be a matchup that Marvin might be able to take advantage of.
I'm hoping so. Him and my receivers are. I got Xavier Worthy down there too, who I'm hoping to have a repeat of. He had a great week 1 on my bench and a not great week 2, so I'm hoping he evens out as well. Kansas City, can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine he's gonna be down too long on the Kansas City offense.
Yeah. Can't
Yeah,
forget about Alex Pierce.
And I'm just pulling up your matchup right now, Nick. It's you
Yeah.
versus Katie, so we got the
Good
sibling
old-
rivalry matchup.
Sibling
Yeah.
rivalry week for me. She is projected to beat me by a decent amount, but as I told Kenny, the projections are BS, and that kind of went to show over the week last week with Kenny and I going back and forth a lot on projections.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the projections that are happening here, where are you making up those 10 points, or where is she losing those 10 points?
I honestly think that Josh Allen is going to underperform for her, and Tyreek Hill doesn't have Tua thrown to him, so probably less than projected there as well. So I'm thinking I'll do all right. Ravens
Yeah.
are also playing Dallas, so they could even go negative on points in her defense, special teams. I'm not worried about the projected points here. I think it's a solid W for me.
I agree. It just really takes like one dead game, as John already found out. He relies on Ramondre. Ramondre got like 2 points when he was supposed to get 15. That's a
Yeah.
that's a swing right there.
Well, I did
Yeah.
have it did come down to Monday night between Kenny and myself. I had Saquon, he had Hurts, and if Saquon had another 30-point week like he did week one, I think I'd have got it, but
Yeah, no, that
he
drop by
didn't.
Saquon, I know we have a lot of Penn State fans out there, was pretty rough. That he could have
Yeah.
turned it up and possibly got a touchdown out of it. He only had like 10 yards to go. But
Yeah, I don't think that even. I mean, it would have been nice to get. I might have gotten the win over Kenny. I wouldn't have made up the points for the bet, but I'd have taken the win.
yeah,
In the end, though, Philly did lose, so that always brings me joy.
yeah. So Kenny's the real loser.
Yeah, Kenny may have won the bet, but his team lost on the field,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that means more to me. Steelers are 2-0.
Technically,
Yeah,
Yeah,
won the battle, lost the war kind of situation, perhaps.
yeah,
yeah.
Uh,
But Nick, this is my matchup of the week. You versus Katie here. I think it's gonna be a really good one. Should be pretty tight. I mean, your teams look pretty even here. But Nate, who are you thinking is a really good matchup this week to watch?
well, I will say before I tell you about my matchup, I do side with you, Nick, here. In addition to the reasons you gave, where like Josh Allen might not need to do that much against Jacksonville, who looks awful so far.
yeah.
I just refuse to believe that either DeAndre Swift or Zamir White will be scoring more than 10 points. Um, Neither one of them has looked very impressive so far.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was looking down the projected points for her, and they just projections don't add up in my head. Those all look way too high for those guys at this point, who they're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't break 100 this week.
She hasn't broken 100 yet, as far as I'm aware. So,
Oh well,
yeah, why start now?
yeah, consistency.
Now the matchup that I have think will be very interesting is with your brother-in-law and the other Nick in this matchup here. It's currently projected to be a hands down matchup of um, the Olive Man winning this one. And that's in part because the Jets defense doing so well. What I think is interesting is that this is a trade matchup. I don't know if you saw this trade, Nick, but
I did.
I'll be
I
curious to hear
don't.
your thoughts.
I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily like the trade on Matt's end. I think he has too much faith in the receivers he has. Now they are good receivers, but trading off CeeDee Lamb for yeah, I just can't see trading a first round pick like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. From talking to other people around the league, a lot of people are saying that Matt won this trade, and I just don't agree. For those who aren't aware, so Matt sent away CeeDee Lamb and Tajay Spears, and he received Garrett Wilson and Jordan Mason. Now, the big
Yeah,
news after this trade happened was that Jordan Mason is probably going to be the starter for the next at least 4 weeks, which is
that
very
is
good news
correct.
for
So in the
Matt.
short term, it looks like a decent deal, but I don't know that long term it's going to hold up for him.
I agree. And also CeeDee Lamb is a first round pick and maybe the best wide receiver in the league right now.
Yeah,
At least combined with his situation. So it
Hmm.
just seems to me like maybe that was kind of an even swap now, and then Jordan Mason's might be totally not valuable 4 weeks from now. Um, Meanwhile, Garrett Wilson's in a tenuous situation. Apparently, he didn't even make Matt's starting roster, but I'm not projecting a awesome season from what I've seen Aaron Rodgers so far. But I am rooting for Matt because someone needs to take down what Nick is trying to turn into this kingpin team. He also managed to pick up Carson Steele. I don't know if
Yeah,
that one hurts for you, Nick, because you had him like 2 days ago.
I did. He was my last round pick. He's got an alligator for a pet.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately I dropped him. I picked up Alec Pierce, who actually I think probably a better pickup than having Carson Steele, because Alec Pierce currently looks like the WR1 in the Indy. But yeah, it does sting. He was my boy. Everybody laughed at me. Now look at him, and I'm kind of also getting laughed at because I dropped him.
Yeah, and he was so random. Did you draft him because the alligator?
A little bit of that, a little bit of his two preseason carries, I believe, went for over 50 yards and a touchdown. So he looks solid in preseason. Just based on that gut reaction, I figured he was the guy. I think he's got it.
That's what the last round pick's for, is trying to get one of those guys that, maybe doesn't turn out to be very good. Maybe you drop him next week, but maybe they throw him up to be a league winner here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am shocked to see him starting, but I'm happy to be right, but also sad that he's not on my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now with talking about trades, there was also a trade in our league between myself and Kyle. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that one. I traded away Jameson Williams,
Tank Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby, that's right. Thank you, Nick. And I got back Tony Pollard and Xavier Legette. My thought being that Jameson Williams had shown himself for 1 week. I thought maybe that was a stronger week than he would have on the season, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown still in town. And Tony Pollard, I think, is going to be a very solid, maybe, back of running back one this year. And I needed to short my running backs, which was my weaker part of the team.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty smart trade from you. Shoring up some areas that you need, trading away a piece that you don't seem to need right now, and I kind of agree. I don't know that he's gonna excel, and I know last week the Lions didn't look very good at all. I don't know what's going on with them. They went from a Super Bowl contender and they did not look like it.
Yeah, maybe Tampa Bay's the real thing now. 2-0, newfound bake and shake there.
2-0. Baker Mayfield's currently QB1 in the as far as fantasy points.
And Jameson Williams, Nate, I don't know, you're trying to knock down Ducky off his kingpin. I mean, Ducky's never won a championship. He just traded Kyle, one of the top 5 wide receivers according to yards in the first 2 weeks of the season.
It's true. It's one of those things I was willing to take the risk because he could finish the season like a high-end wide receiver too, but he could also finish the season like wide receiver 40 or something. And after 1 week of good production, because remember, we didn't know about last week yet when I did it, and he was fine last week. It didn't make me regret my decision yet. He would have to be really good, I think, for me to be upset about what I did.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, last week Detroit did kind of abandon the run, which I thought was a very strong point in their game. I have to imagine that after last week, they're only going to run the ball more. So I don't see Jameson Williams doing much more over the rest of the season. I would expect that they get back to running the ball consistently. I see Jahmyr Gibbs there for Kenny. Probably his projection's probably low, and I'd say Jameson Williams probably isn't going to break 12 this week, in my opinion.
That was my thinking too, but we will, because they've been kind of building him up. He was only projected like 6 points week 1, and then last week like 8 points. So ESPN's buying in. I'm not buying in yet.
Yeah, I don't buy it yet either.
Now let's take a look at the offers report, which was interesting again. I know we already talked about the Carson Steele sweepstakes. I noticed you didn't pay up, Nick? Was it just too painful to pay up for someone you just dropped?
Um, I didn't want to take the risk and bid quite yet, and I'm pretty happy with my roster where it's at. My flex running back currently would be Ezekiel Elliott, which is maybe not a popular decision, but I think I would take him over Carson Steele on a week that I need to flex him in off the bench. I would have liked to have Carson Steele as well, but I'm happy that I dropped him, picked up Alec Pierce, who has been killing it in Indy. I do want to see one more week before I believe in the consistency of his workload. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm like I said before, sad to see him go, but I don't really have a spot for him on my roster. I'm building to try and win a championship here, not trying to make friends. So, Carson
yeah.
Steele, I love you, buddy, but not for me right now.
Do you think he's going to be worth the 22?
That's I think, he's got an alligator for a pet. We already said, I think he'd have been worth 50, but
Yeah.
he is going straight into the roster. So 22 for somebody going right onto your roster, I'd say that's probably worth it.
That's what you paid for, yeah. And one thing I'm just noticing now is Matt picked up Josh Downs, talking about other wide receivers on the Colts that are better than my guy who's actually wide receiver one. But Matt dropped Michael Thomas, who's not on a team, meaning Matt picked up Michael Thomas, who's not on a team.
I didn't even notice that either. When did that happen? But I didn't know that he got drafted, or even that he was still eligible. I maybe suppose everyone's eligible. But I thought another interesting one, Nick, was that Kyle had dropped Christian Kirk, and I saw that you actually picked him up. It's not on this sheet, but yesterday for like $1. I thought that was a pretty savvy snatch. I would have done it had I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Christian's not been very good yet this year. He obviously is supposed to be basically wide receiver one for that team. And there's not many guys really that could take that spot from him. But I think the Jaguars are figuring things out. They're at Buffalo this week. It's a little tough. Obviously, the Buffalo defense is banged up, so that Trevor has a chance to just sling it around, see if CK can pick it up next few weeks here and make his way into my lineup.
Yeah, and then I'll also highlight just that I did manage to grab Derek Carr for $1, and
second best quarterback in the league.
He some people think he might be good this year. I'm not totally bought in, but for $1, I'll let him sit on my bench and see if he has a career year. Why
I was
not?
gonna say I respect that pickup for $1. I think that's a solid bargain. He could be great this year.
Yeah.
Still yet to be seen, but I think if he's got the consistency in him, yeah, could be a steal for $1.
I hope so. I might not even need him because Joe Burrow, I think, is actually going to pull together a good year as well once the Cincinnati Bengals get over their 4-week slump they have every year.
Yeah.
Or as a Pittsburgh fan, they just won't, and they'll be terrible this year, and that'll be great. And you have a solid backup option because you're a smart fantasy football manager.
That's the hope. And then Kenny picked up Hunter Henry and I played him, and it didn't work. So that was too bad.
Yeah.
Too bad to Colby Jack Parkinson over
there. But that's I believe we're getting to the end of our time today, Nick. I'm very glad you joined us. I enjoyed watching you chug that beer, and I kind of hope for your sake that we're watching Kenny chug a beer later in the season.
I hope so as well. I am 100% going after him again. We might even up the ante, so to speak. We'll see what terms we come to, but I am not expecting to lose this twice. And then potentially, even if we see each other in the playoffs, double down, triple down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. But we'll see you all next week. Again, thanks for joining us, Nick, and good luck, everyone.
Thanks for having me.